Good evening, everybody. My name is Robin Muir. I'll be the moderator this evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Kitsap County and the League of Women Voters of Washington, the entire state education fund, welcome to this forum featuring the candidates for Mayor of Poulsbo. We want to thank the City of Poulsbo for allowing us to use this meeting room this evening. We'd also like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the ancestral homes of the Suquamish and Sklallam peoples who have lived on the land and waterways of the Salish Sea for thousands of years. The Suquamish and the Sklallam live on and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations as promised by the Point Elliott and Point No Point treaties of 1855. Before we begin, I'd like to give you just a brief overview of the League of Women Voters. We were founded during the days of the women's suffrage movement, and the League envisions a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate fully. The League is proud to be nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties, but we always are working on vital issues of concern to members and the public, such as this forum. The League is a membership organization and depends on our members to run and organize events like this, and we'd like to invite each and every one of you to join us, and we are an equal opportunity organization. As of 1974, the League of Women Voters allowed men to join. Tonight, we have invited the candidates for the open seat of Mayor of Poulsbo. Please welcome the candidates who are seated in the order that they appear on the ballot. First, we have Dan Weedin and then Ed Stern. We'd like to express our appreciation to both of you gentlemen for running for office. We know that it is a big undertaking, and we appreciate your efforts and your willingness to do so. To the audience, now is a great time, if you haven't done so, to silence your phones and put away any recording devices. We will be recording this entire program, and it will be available on our website, LWV-Kitsap.org, and we'll go over that later on. At this point, if we could also refrain from any applause so that we can get in as many questions as we possibly can tonight. To begin, what we will do is we will have our candidates give a 90-second opening statement. After that, we will take turns answering questions, and those questions were submitted either online or from the audience that's here. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer those questions. And if you still are writing questions, if you just raise the card, a league member will come and collect it from you. We ask that you keep your questions short, specific, and respectful and phrased so that both candidates may answer the question. We've made arrangements to broadcast, so we've got all those cell phones off, right? Mine included. And we hope that you'll cooperate because we would prefer that this information is not used or manipulated to create false or misleading impressions or be used for campaign purposes. So, candidates, you've got 90 seconds to make your opening statement, and we'll start with you, Dan.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and to Ed Stern for your participation. Experience is important. I have the right kind of experience for this new role, and that's exactly why you should vote for me. The experience the next mayor needs is about being a voice for Poulsbo, someone who listens, advocates, and leads. It's leadership that reflects where we're going and how we will shape your life and the charm of the city you call home. As mayor, I'll bring a fresh perspective and decades of experience that align with this new role. The city administrator will manage day-to-day operations. That means the mayor's job is no longer about management. It's about leadership. And that's where I thrive. I've run a successful business for 20 years, led the North Kitsap School Board, and advised organizations on managing risk and strengthening relationships. My career has centered on listening, building trust, and leading with clarity and courage. I know how to prioritize projects, build consensus, and inspire action. And I'm ready to do that for Poulsbo. Because this isn't just my campaign. It's about all of us. Our Poulsbo, our future.
I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. Buenos noches. I'd like to start before talking about myself and give out some thanks. It is pretty customary to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring these forums for many years now, but especially right now during these polarized times when many of us are drawing our information from social media, from Facebook among groups of friends, with the diminishment of local news coverage. This is particularly important. Their commitment here, 103 years, 104 years since the amendment of the Constitution for the women's vote. This is terribly important, so thank you very much. Secondly, I'd like to give a big shout out to retiring Mayor Rebecca Erickson. 16 years she's been at the helm of the city. She has lived that job 24/6. I've never seen anything like it. She has guided the city, worked with the council, provided leadership for the staff, and so a big shout out for groundbreaking work, including in the social arena. I would like to also thank the voters who have returned me to City Council for 7 consecutive terms. It has been my honor and privilege to serve you for that time, to work with 4 different mayors, to work with the staff in the city, be able to work with the business community. It has truly been an honor, and so tonight I'd like to start off with those thank yous.
Thank you. We're going to start with our questions now. The first one will go to Dan Weedin. The question is, what is your vision going forward for the city of Poulsbo?
My vision for the city of Poulsbo is one of a welcoming community, first and foremost. We have a very unique, charming, wonderful city. That's why all of you live here. I have 4 grandchildren, ages 8 to 3. And what I look forward for them is the opportunity for them to have that same city, perhaps even better. Now, growth is coming. We know that. We have to plan for it. It needs to be intentional. It needs to be thought out. We have a city council that works very diligently at doing that. We have a brand new city administrator. My vision is to continue to grow with the growth we have and do so in a way that welcomes everybody, that's a place where people can raise their children, have housing affordability, where people can retire and live out their golden years, and to have Poulsbo be that place that we can all be proud of calling home.
Thank you, Robin. The essence of the job of mayor is handling problems on behalf of the community. I often think of the children's song, The Wheels on the Bus. You all know it. The job of the mayor is to keep the wheels on the bus of the city, working with staff, working with the city administrator, working with the council. That does not get a lot of excitement. It does not grab attention, but it's the essence of the job. If you're not worried about your sewer breaking, your water delivery, your roads, because it's going well, you know it when it fails. So the essence of the job is keeping the wheels on the bus. As far as my vision, Robin, the next step is inviting everyone in the community on that bus. And that is an important job. That includes our neighbors, our friends, our family. And finally, when everybody is on the bus, deciding on where we're going together. The destination, the journey, the direction, and that can only be done through collaboration. That can only be done through hard work. And so, again, the essence of the job is not exciting. It is not attention grabbing. Beyond that, I agree with Dan. It is the importance of making a welcoming community. The risk right now to Poulsbo is with the increased housing costs, not to become gentrified. We need to come up with pathways for our young and our old, and in between, our working people to be able to afford a home and home ownership.
Thank you, gentlemen. The next question will go to Mr. Stern first. With the city's change to a part-time mayor and city administrator, please describe what you see as your primary role and the functions of the mayor.
Thank you, Robin. A number of us have worked over 20 years to achieve the goal of professionalizing the city government. The fact that Dan and I are up here tonight asking for your vote means that every 4 years, there's a throw of the dice. And there's too much at stake now on a $50 million operation with over 100 employees, the complexity. We need a backstop to assure the continuity, the professionalism, and most important for the business community, predictability. That is why we turn to a city administrator. It should be understood, unlike Bainbridge Island, Gig Harbor, and a few others that have a city manager, the new mayor still retains the full authority under the revised codes of the state of Washington as a traditional mayor, the ability to hire and fire and everything in between. It's really important in these next 4 years that the model and action of what a part-time mayor looks like to avoid micromanaging but still provide the leadership is key. So my commitment and one of my drivers for running for mayor after seeking and working with council to institute this change last year is to really set the model with experience that comes with 7 consecutive terms on council, how to integrate the city administrator without interference and micromanaging, understanding that the risk is this in any future election, the mayor has still uncurtailed powers. Thank you.
Dan?
First of all, kudos to the City Council, and I see several members here, including Mr. Stern, for doing that. I think it's brilliant, and Rob Gelder is the right person to be city administrator here. What's my vision? What's my role as mayor? Well, you've all seen a Seahawks game, right? Where when they come out of the tunnel, they've got one person who's been delegated, usually it's the special teams captain, to go out there leading the flag, the 12's flag. I want to do that same thing for Poulsbo. I want to be the head cheerleader. I want to be the head advocate. I want to be the person who's engaging with the community, engaging with all of the different regional committees that I would be on. I want to advocate for Poulsbo. Additionally, I think that the economic driver is also an important part for the mayor. Rob's going to be running the day-to-day of the business. He's going to be setting the culture of the organization. I'm going to be there, if I'm elected, to help him, to support the department, and again, at the highest level, where it be other cities, counties, regional, to be that voice for Poulsbo.
And
Thank
could you
you.
repeat the question, Robin?
Yes. With the city's change to a part-time mayor and city administrator, please describe what you see as your primary role and functions of the mayor.
The mayor still sets the tone, the leadership, works conjunctly with the city administrator on the management. It is not a default position. It is a collaborative position. Equal to that is the collaboration with the 7 colleagues on the city council. And I see it as a team effort if it works smoothly. Poulsbo has a great reputation for camaraderie, for collegiality and community. And that starts with the city and the model that we set. So I see that as incredibly important. Beyond that, Dan's quite right. The ability to integrate on the local, regional, state, and federal level. I'm proud to say that I have served on Kitsap Transit, Kitsap Economic Development Alliance, Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council. I've been the president of the Economic Development District for the 4-County Puget Sound Regional Council. I am the governor's appointment for cities to the State Public Works Board, and on and on. What's especially important are the relationships with the elected officials throughout the county and the region. The job starts on day one. There's little time for a learning curve on this, and I'm proud to say that I am prepared and excited, have spent nearly 30 years preparing for this, and would appreciate your support. I see this as working smoothly and again collaboratively, and really it's a team effort. The mayor working with the city administrator, working with the city council, setting the tone, making decisions jointly on behalf of the community.
Okay, the next question goes to Mr. Weedin first, and is who will be the spokesperson and who will represent us at such organizations as the Puget Sound Regional Council and at other regional/state organizations?
Well, that's the mayor. That would be the mayor who does that. And the beauty of the city administrator role is that the mayor now no longer has to work on the day-to-day of the operations. They can, as and I don't love the word part-time mayor, I prefer a fractional, a fraction of the time of what it used to be, because now the mayor can focus on representing, on being that person. And I'll talk a little bit about, Mr. Stern mentioned getting started quickly. There's always an onboarding process. It doesn't matter what the role, you've all been onboarded at some point. And whether it was starting as a school board director, whether it was starting as a head basketball coach or a head golf coach, heck, whether it was starting as a father at 23 years old. We didn't have a playbook. We had to get onboarded. I am excited that there would be an onboarding process that I would take, starting with talking to Mayor Erickson, Rob Gelder, the council, and really getting started fast, because there is a 2-month time, and I'm a quick learner.
And Robin, again, the question, please.
Pardon me. Who will be the spokesperson and who will represent us at such organizations as the Puget Sound Regional Council and at other regional and state organizations?
Thank you, Robin. By bylaw, the mayor represents the city on the health department, on Kitsap Transit, on the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council, and that's called Super Tuesday. They try to line all of the meetings up in Bremerton back to back to back. Also the representation to the Puget Sound Regional Council, and beyond that, it is the bandwidth of the mayor to be able to move forward with the other state and regional organizations. I'm proud to say that I was elected by my 281 city colleagues to become president of the Association of Washington Cities, 2019 through 2020. A lot of experience with the state legislature. In that capacity, I also had the ability to work with Congress and Washington, D.C., many of the other mayors, county commissioners. Those are important relationships. Relationships don't happen overnight. Relationships don't happen because of a bylaw appointment. They take time. It's often said our relationship with the Squamish tribe and the Port Gamble-Sklallam tribe, you have to show up, and you have to keep showing up. One of the risks the U.S. Navy has is so much turnover among their commanders that they have to rebuild relationship with the tribes on the use of our common waters. I have been showing up for nearly 30 years, and I will continue to do so, and do so to represent this community with the love and the gratitude and appreciation I carry in my heart.
Thank you. Next question. This one will go to Mr. Stern first. What is your vision for Poulsbo's business growth?
That was keyed in on the city administrator position. And it's a little ironic, Robin, because in trying to determine how we would pay for that position, we instituted for the first time in the city's history a business and occupation tax. That is a tax, a small tax on every business in town. The idea was that the businesses require predictability in order to make decisions and move forward, and election cycles can disrupt that. The idea of the city administrator was to provide that steady hand on the helm. On the other hand, we instituted a tax to accomplish that. We were able to hire 2 additional police officers, and I'll take you back to 2020 and 21. At the height of the COVID, we had the carjacking going on, a lot of break-ins, and so the business community was quite stressed. It was that much more important to be able to institute these and be able to pay for it. At this point, a colleague of mine, Councilman Doug Newell, and I are exploring lowering the surcharge on the business and occupation tax and making it a much lower hurdle for small businesses, looking at exempting them. The bottom line on being able to pay for the city administrator office and the new police officers, the truth is it's 5 or 6 businesses covering 60% of the income. The idea then of having to go after the very small independent real estate agents and others who are small businesses of one, and the mom and pop shops, we're going to be working on reducing that.
I'm a Poulsbo business owner, and I have been for 20 years, and I will continue to be, even if elected mayor. I have worked with business owners my whole career. I've been active with the Kitsap Economic Development Alliance. I love businesses. I love entrepreneurs. And I know many of you out here, you're business owners as well. I am really excited about the opportunities of the future. I see what's happening with Matchstick Labs at Vibe Coworks. I see what's happening around historic downtown Poulsbo. You see what's happening all over town. There are opportunities here for great growth. I think the B&O tax and what it was set up to do has been great because it allowed for 2 new police officers and the city administrator's role. Yet I want to look at this as a facing forward and saying, what can we do to bring in more businesses? What can we do to enhance the businesses we have here? As I mentioned in one of my earlier statements, one of my roles as mayor would be as an economic driver for Poulsbo. And that means showing up. And I show up too. I show up wherever I've been, and I will be there to show up for Poulsbo business owners and the citizens who come and go to their stores and buy from them. We'll bring more of them to the city.
Thank you. Next question, and this will go to Dan Weedin first. With 13 housing projects currently under construction, 9 more approved, and 5 more under review, what is being done to mitigate all the traffic concerns? And what is being done about the water supply for these coming thousands of people?
We have traffic? Oh, that's right, they can't laugh. Okay, we have traffic, and and there are a number of developments coming up, and of course, as part of growth, traffic is an outflow of that. That is obviously something that in conjunction with city administrator, with the council, with all the voices out there, we need to find ways, and we already started finding ways, and kudos to the council for putting up situations where there are places to help people slow down and to stop. There are other things that can be done. I don't know all the answers today, but that would be one of the very most important things that we have to talk about. As far as the water, I've got concerns about that. I know it comes out of Liberty Bay, and I know we've got some challenges down on the waterfront. In addition to pumping the water, I've got some real concerns about the infrastructure down there. Those are all things that working as a team, council, city administration, community, I believe that we can get all the smart people in the room to help working towards that end goal.
And again, Robin, a repeat of the question.
Happy to do so.
Thank you.
With 13 housing projects currently under construction, 9 more approved and 5 more under review, what is being done to mitigate all the traffic concerns, and what is being done about the water supply for these coming thousands of people?
Thank you, Robin. I'll share with the audience, not a well-known fact. The city of Poulsbo many years ago instituted the highest impact fees in the county of any jurisdiction. Before anything's built and permitted, we charge for traffic mitigation, park, we assess the school impact fees, and we have a park impact fee. Many communities have lowered or don't have those in order to attract growth and business. We took the opposite attitude. If you're coming to Poulsbo, we want you to be a good neighbor and a good business, and we want you to pay your way, not the local existing residents. We adequately and more so assess for that traffic impact. We assess for the parks and the schools, and as far as water, I'm proud to say the Kitsap Public Utility District, which happens to be headquartered at the top of Finn Hill here in Poulsbo, in addition to the wells we own and the existing water rights, we have an intertie on a 16-inch pipe that draws directly from the Seebeck Reservoir. We are in great shape that way, but we do not accept helter-skelter growth. We only accept that growth that's willing to pay as it goes. And if people, the developers, find that a high bar, then we say, When you're ready to meet our standards of quality, come on back and we'll work with you. Thank you, Robin.
This next question will go to Ed first. Short-term rentals are conducting a commercial, business, and residential zones. How would you restore those residential zones?
We look at the Airbnb and those type of models, and we're going to be reviewing our code. We are looking currently at data, because what it is, it's taking available housing stock and taking it away from our own people who need housing. A lot of the development that's going in Poulsbo right now is rental. That's fine, but it's expensive and it doesn't afford equity. The building that's going on right now, like above the Johnson Way roundabout and the other developments up at the top of Finn Hill, those are $700,000 and $800,000 homes. Who can afford that? Right now, we are hurting our future generations, our own children, the elderly on fixed income. I will, on January, call for a blue ribbon commission to put together a public-private partnership with the banks, the developers, construction, insurance, and the other entities in the private sector, along with the city, to explore putting together a coalition to build small homes and see if people can't afford those. Can we lower the down payments? Can the city reduce impact fees on those tiny homes? And likewise. But it can only be done as a public-private partnership. The only sustainable housing solution, and I care about the next generation being afforded the American dream, the ability to bootstrap and build a net worth, which they're being frozen out of right now. We need to take initiative. These cannot rely on government programs. It can only be done by a public-private partnership.
Dan.
Would you repeat the question? I missed the first part.
My pleasure. Short-term rentals are conducting a commercial, business, and residential zones. How would you restore residential zones?
Well, this is a team game, and I will admit that's an area I would need to come up to speed, but I would come up to speed very quickly with the help of the city administrator, the council, Mayor Becky Erickson, Ed Stern. I would reach out to. I think he would probably still take my call, but I would reach out to people who know more about that than I do. I know that we are a leader in ADUs, though. In that part, I'm very well aware in talking to people around the county. One of the things I want to bring up, though, is talk a little bit about impact fees. And I am not against asking contractors to pay impact fees. Here's the challenge, though. They don't pay those. They pass those on to the people buying their house. They are looking to make a profit because they are in business. And so the balance, the fine balance is, yes, impact fees are important, but we need to be very careful, because when we talk about housing affordability, and I agree with everything that Ed said about pricing people out, that could lead to pricing people out if we're not careful.
Thank you. Next question, and this will go to Ed first. No, I'm sorry, Dan first. Pardon me. Affordable housing remains an issue for Poulsbo residents. As mayor, how would you address this issue?
Well, we've been talking, I think, about it for the last few questions. I think this is a huge issue for a lot of places, and especially for a place that is as desirable to live as Poulsbo. This takes a partnership. It means making sure that, as mentioned, we make it affordable to build homes and affordable for people to buy them. As I mentioned, impact fees are important, but there is a balance. Small homes, ADUs, we've been a leader in that. But we're going to have more people moving in as we're doing pretty cool things up at Olympic College and bringing more potential students there. We don't want to be a place where people who work here can't afford to live here. So it's really an opportunity for us as a city as we start reimagining what Poulsbo looks like 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years from now, as to being very intentional about how we go about doing this as a team, as a group that's looking to bring solutions together, because I truly believe everybody wants to row in the same direction and get to the same end results.
Ed.
Thank you, Robin. I'm going to go back to, I'm calling for a blue ribbon commission to bring all the parties to the table to see if we can get economic viability on small home construction. Our city has been the leader for the 4 cities and the county and beyond in the state. Our own city planner, Heather Wright, was lead for the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council that I serve on, along with Mayor Becky Erickson and the other mayors and council and commissioners these last 3 years. Dan's quite correct in referring to what's called accessory dwelling units. We are leading the charge on these. These are 600, 800, and 900 square feet. I want you to envision that for a moment. These are styled, and what I see happening because of the liberalization of the condominium laws that came out of the last legislature, up to 12 of these can be aggregated in what are called cottage courts. Some of you might remember the construction in the 1920s and 30s, what are called motor courts, and they were ringed horseshoe adjoining each other with a common courtyard. That's what I want to explore. And at that 600 or 800 or 900 square foot level, it affords someone to be able to get in there if the financing includes liberal down payment and financing terms, if we reduce the impact fees and intertie with utilities, if the developers, contractors, insurance companies, and the others are willing to work with us, we will be able to bootstrap our children and our low-income elderly into these and be able to afford them the beginning of investor-owned community neighbors.
Thank you. Next question. And this will go to, let's see, Mr. Weedin first, correct? No, Mr. Stern first, sorry.
Thank you, Robin.
Some of the neighborhoods are 40-plus years old. These are established neighborhoods, yet the sidewalks are deteriorating. The road paths are patched up and very uneven surfaces to walk on. We have witnessed newer neighborhoods receive high-speed internet as well as improvements to their roads. If infrastructure and high-speed internet are a priority, what are your plans for these older neighborhoods?
Great question. I'm very proud of the work the council did, and I played an instrumental role 8 years ago in taking a portion of our general fund and setting it aside for what's called the Neighborhood Streets Program. All the streets you see in Poulsbo were built by the developers who put in the individual homes or the subdivision of homes. The city did not do that. The city did not budget to repair those streets. Where we did raise money was going to arterials and collectors, because that receives state and federal grants, need matches, very smart to leverage your money. 20, 30, 40, 50 years went by with no repair of the sidewalk and streets in the older neighborhoods, and they deteriorated. So we created a set aside starting at $150,000 a year. It's well past that right now. I think it's $350,000, and we're doing the overlays. We did inventory to determine which streets were so deteriorated that the idea of overlaying and repairing them was a waste of money. And so the entire city was inventoried, and what we're doing is those streets that can be saved, working on those, saving then for those that need to be torn up. But it's the first time the city's grappled with the problem in its 125-year history.
I think what the council has done and what the city has done in that regard is admirable. It's really difficult. It's costly to do roads. I had a great opportunity to spend time with Mike Lund up at Public Works. I think what they do is amazing. Yet, we still have challenges. If you're walking up and down Front Street, you can see areas where there are infrastructure issues. I can't imagine, because I have not been to all of the streets that are mentioned, I can't imagine what's happening there. I think, and I'm going to just say, I think the council and the city in that regard is doing what needs to be done after many, many years, 100 years of not doing that. And if I'm mayor, I would continue that. I would bring the smart people together. I would learn more. That's part of my onboarding. I'm going to admit that right now, but I'm going to learn more, and I'm going to support, to the best of my ability, everything that's going on to help those individual places and Poulsbo as a whole when it comes to infrastructure.
Good.
New question. All right. As mayor,
I think that's me, right?
yes,
No, he's not the mayor yet.
I think I walked right into that. As mayor, what are your plans to comply with the Growth Management Act while managing infrastructure needs for a rapidly growing city? And I would ask that you might also think about alternative transportation methods such as bicycling and bicycle paths when you answered this question.
Thank you. Well, we have to comply with the Growth Management Act. That's not our choice. We have to. And so now we're talking about how do we do that? How do we balance that with everything that we talked about regarding housing affordability, low-income housing, which is different, and making sure that we are not only compliant, but doing what is best for the neighborhood. Now, I'm going to start talking a little bit more. You asked about transportation and bikes and bicycles and alternate forms of transportation. We should have talked maybe a little bit more about that when we were talking about traffic, because I know there are cyclists out there. I don't happen to be one of them, but I know you're out there, and I know that you would like more opportunities. When I had exchange students here from other countries, they were always amazed that we had to drive someplace to ride a bike. They found that crazy. I'd love to see more of that. I'd love to see, and I don't know how it works out, but I'd love to see more opportunities to park your bicycle in a safe place downtown, because you're not going to be taking it all over the place. So I think there are great opportunities for more bicycles, for more walking, and for more shuttles as part of the transportation challenge.
Rob, I'm going to ask you to repeat the question, please.
Certainly. As mayor, what are your plans to comply with the Growth Management Act while managing infrastructure needs for a rapidly growing city, and then taking into consideration alternate forms of transportation such as bicycles?
Excellent. Every 5 years, we review our comprehensive plan, and we have a capital improvement plan and a transportation improvement plan. We budget for those in 5-year cycles, do the money set aside. We cannot accept new population without it. However, not providing infrastructure is not an excuse from the state not to accept new population. And so it's quite a balancing act. The city does not have the authority under state law to stop people from moving to town. The real risk is if we do not provide adequate and various forms of staggered priced housing, then we're going to price out our very children and the next generation. We do not want to risk the problems Bainbridge Island is having right now, where their workforce has to commute daily. If you've ever tried to, at 8 o'clock, take Highway 305 toward Winslow, you think, boy, I am in a ferry traffic jam. You get to Day Road and the traffic is gone. That's because the workers, the young people, those on limited income can no longer afford to live on the island. The Growth Management Act and superb comprehensive planning enables us in Poulsbo to still be a haven for workers, young families, low-income seniors. We must not lose that. That is our inheritance, our birthright, and we will fight like hell to make sure we do not gentrify.
Thank you. Next question. With so much uncertainty on the federal level, if city revenues fell, what services would you preserve? And that will go to Ed Stern first.
Right now, we're the strongest of the jurisdictions as far as revenue. Over the years, we planned for 3 pillars to hold up the community: the sales tax, the property tax, and the transaction taxes. When we approved finally the college marketplace, not without a great deal of controversy at the turn of the century, 2000, 2001, 2002, we did so mindfully, knowing that if we didn't have a proper tax base, we would be subject to these economic whipsaws. What I want to say around that, to answer the, well, repeat the question one more time, Robin.
Sure. With so much uncertainty on the federal level, if city revenues fell, what services would you preserve?
Again, the good news is on that structure I just talked about, we're the strongest jurisdiction on the peninsulas, period. We have the most stable revenue. We have the largest reserves. We're extremely conservative in our budgeting. If in fact we misapplied our assumptions, we could draw on our ample reserves. That would afford us a couple years to adjust, see if the economic cycle is going to run out, but we have the latitude to handle that problem in our financial planning.
Thank you. Dan?
I hate agreeing with Ed. I hate agreeing with you. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I don't think Poulsbo's broken at all. In fact, I applaud everything that Ed just said. When I was on the school board, and I was on the school board during the Great Recession.
Yeah.
From 2009 to 2014, we dealt with about a $68 million budget. And then when the state came and said, we don't want to pay you your second half payment, which was part of our budget, which surprised us. They said, we know that your reserve is so good, it was 11.5% at that time, which outdistanced other schools, is so good that you can afford this. We fought back, all school districts did, they paid us. But that's the reason that you're conservative in that way. That's the reason that you're set up, whether you call it a rainy day fund or a reserve or whatever it is, you have to be thinking in advance, because none of us thought a pandemic was coming in 2019. That was the last thing on our bingo card. But you just never know. I'm in risk management, and that includes financial. And so you just never know when that's coming. I applaud the city. I applaud the council for what they've done, the prior mayor, and that would be a continued focus if I became mayor.
Thank you. Next question. Many U.S. cities are taking stands to protect their residents from deployed federal troops, the policing or censorship of school curricula and museums, withdrawal of congressionally approved grants and funding of parklands and essential services, and the imposing of religion on government. That was, as mayor of Poulsbo, what course of action would you take in response to federal constraints? And Dan, you're first.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way. The first question that you asked me remains, we must remain a welcoming city. We can't control what the federal government does or does not do, but we can control how we treat our citizens, how we protect them, how we stand by the rule of law for them, and we would work as a team, whether it be Police Chief Harding, City Administrator Gelder, the council. We are here to make sure that our citizens feel safe, feel welcome, feel secure, and that the city of Poulsbo, regardless of who's mayor or who's on the council or who the city administrator or who the people, we are here to make sure. That might be one of our most important tasks, is to make sure that the people who live in, who work in, and who visit Poulsbo feel safe from no matter what. No matter what happens, we have to be here to encourage that welcoming community and stand by them.
Thank you. Ed?
Thank you, Robin. This is too important a question to answer it on a conceptual or aspirational level. Let me share with you, I began this evening by saying buenos noches, good evening to you all. We have the largest pro rata proportion of Hispanic and Latino population on the county, all the way down to Gig Harbor and beyond. Over nearly 15% of our residing population is of that group. When on January 21st, I was in Olympia with the State Public Works Board, I mentioned I was appointed to that. When it was announced the great concerns over ICE and the review, and there was a great expression of concern already by our population, our neighbors, working through Becky Erickson, I called our police chief, Ron Harding, from the hotel in Olympia, and affirmed that Washington has the work to write law, which means there will be no interference with the worker in that level. It wasn't enough to affirm that we would respect that. We have the police operating with the understanding that any injection of federal or ICE or other forces will only be done with the knowledge of the police department, and the assurity of it is these people show up with their masks on. They are not clearly identified as police. or law enforcement? How does our police department know that they're not dealing with a break-in or a house criminalization? They will take steps, and that is part of our operating policy right now, started on January 21st. It's too important of a question not to be aspirational about it.
Thank you. And I think this will be our last question. It's a little bit lighter. So this one is, what ideas do you have for development along Viking Avenue? And Ed, you start.
Right now, the city's about to institute a paid parking model. We're going to start with a parking enforcement model, and then beginning in early 2026, looking at or implementing paid parking. I'm already against that. I've enjoyed working with the city for these last 28 years, but I'm not a get-along-to-go-along guy, and if I see something I don't like, I will break. I'm not status quo. Right now, I'm on the record for opposing the paid parking until we test out the parking enforcement model over a 2-year period. So one of my first acts in the new year would be to ask the council to refocus and relook at that question. It's not that we can't have paid parking, but let's first measure and evaluate the effectiveness of simply paid parking instead of forcing the parking enforcement instead of paid parking. That's a roundabout way saying if we have paid parking downtown, I think we just have instituted a Viking Avenue development program.
Thank you. Dan?
And I'll answer that question because it means a lot to me in a minute. But first, me llamo Daniel José Weedin González. Soy medio colombiano. Te veo, mi amigos. I will look out for all of our members, especially my Hispanic brothers and sisters, because I am 50% Hispanic. May not look it, but I am. Viking Way. I live right above Viking Way. I feel for them because I know that there are many times that they don't feel that they get the love that historic downtown Poulsbo gets, that what we'll call, and I'm still going to call them Central Market, that the Central Market area gets. And that needs to change. There are viable businesses. There are important businesses there. And we have to find a way as part of the overall economic development of the city to include our neighbors on Viking Way. Do I have answers today? No. But my promise to them and to all is that we're going to find a way to make everybody successful.
Thank you. Before our candidates make their closing remarks, I'd like to just do a little housekeeping here. This event has been recorded by BCAT and also has been recorded as a Zoom webinar on our website. So you can access both recordings, one on either through BCAT on their channels or through our website at lwv-kitsap.org. And those should be available probably next week, I believe, at the end of the week. You can also find all of our other, this is a little plug and it's shameless, but all of our other recordings of our candidate interviews and our candidate webinars. So we've done a lot of forums this year and we'd like you to all take a peek so that you're a more informed voter when you go to the, when you fill out your ballot. The other thing is that your ballot should be in the mail by October 17th. And if you need more resources, there are many excellent opportunities to do research. One would be the Kitsap County Auditor's Office, vote411.org, which is run by the National League of Women Voters, and you'll get your voter pamphlet sent to you in the mail. The closest in-person voting location in Poulsbo is the fire station, and it will be open for on-site registration and voting on Election Day, which is November 4th again, between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. So if you know any people who are, well, a little bit of a procrastinator and they need a little shot in the arm to get that ballot in, or they need to go register, maybe give them a little shove. And let's see, anything else? Oh yes, make sure those ballots are in the mail and postmarked by November 4th. And we will start with Ed Stern for the closing statement.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you, League of Women Voters, and thank you, past Mayor Kim Abel, for being the leader here in the county in that regard. Leadership matters, experience matters, community matters. I've spent the better part of 30 years alongside 4 different mayors, many council colleagues, city staff, preparing for the leadership role for overseeing this municipal government, our beloved little Norway, our city of Poulsbo. I have developed relationships with every jurisdiction in Kitsap County, many boards and commissions I have served on, and beyond on the Puget Sound Regional Council, statewide, including elected and state federal leaders. On day one, I will be prepared with a demonstrated desire for collaboration and cooperation with our city council, with our city administrator, with our city staff, and most importantly, be prepared to listen to you, our citizens and residents, to move forward into our future together. I'm very excited to serve as your next mayor and help sustain this community we love.
Yes.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, League of Women Voters. Thank you, Ed. I have a couple other thank yous. I want to thank my wife, Barb, who's here with me, for her ongoing support. I see a lot of supporters who are friends, especially those of you down Taurasi Drive. Thank you for being here and coming to support me. I'm not running for mayor to be in charge. I'm running to be of service. If I have the honor of being elected, I promise to do my very best every single day to keep the people of Poulsbo at the top of everything that I represent. I will work with council members, the city administrator, and community leaders, regardless of background or opinion, to move Poulsbo forward together. I will listen with intention, communicate with clarity, engage with respect, and care deeply about the well-being of every person who lives in, works in, or visits our city. Poulsbo is growing, and with that growth comes responsibility to protect what makes this place special while building a future that works for all of us. I spent my life building bridges, navigating change, and leading with courage. That's the approach I'll bring to this campaign and to the role of mayor. This isn't about me. It's about all of us. Our Poulsbo, our future.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I think now is the time for that round of applause. Again, I'd like to thank our candidates, Dan Weedin and Ed Stern, for joining us this evening. Running for office is not an easy task, and we appreciate that they're willing to do so. Also, audience, thank you for turning out and asking some really good questions tonight and keeping these guys on their toes. And that concludes our forum for this evening. Thank you.